And let's get ourselves into picks and bans. It is Fnatic taking on Edward Gaming, the last quarterfinal of Worlds 2018. This is a rematch of the 2015 quarterfinal in which that Fnatic went 3-0 over EDG. Between then and now, both teams made significant changes. And I was touching on the point that Mako has been the sort of front man, the leader, the shot caller for EDG, and definitely a pivotal player today.
Absolutely, because Fnatic took down Clearlove's Edward Gaming. That is the old Edward Gaming. This Edward Gaming is around their support player. Mako was a rookie in that year and wasn't able to find rhythm in the best of 5. This time, it could be different.
I think around Mako and around Scout in the mid lane. He's the reason they even made it to Worlds in the first place. He's improved so much since his last year where he was constantly getting caught out. Mechanically, insanely gifted. The matchup between him and Caps will be super fun to follow.
Yeah, Frostgurren loves to call Scout kind of a double-edged sword. He can cut himself as he's going in for those plays. And I really want to see if Caps chooses to fight fire with fire, because we have seen a tendency for Caps to sometimes, we've seen a Swain pick out of him against Rookie. We saw, I think, a Galio pick out of him. I want to see the Akali pick out of him.
Or what about Irelia mid lane? Could also be an option. Now, one of the things when Fnatic are running Whippo, we know they're more likely to pick carries top lane as well. Source has mainly just been the tank player on the team, so there is a bit of flexing here from Fnatic.
And on the flip side, while Ray in North America was known for a lot of his carry style top lane, EDG found a lot more success with Ray actually on the tanks.
And let's talk about what's happening with the bans here, because they came in very, very quick. Kai'Sa, Sivir bans. Now early pick Xayah. EDG are trying to take away picks from Reckless and make sure he's not on something where he can be a big carry. But for him, there's always the Tristana.
And that's what I was going to say. I was super impressed by how negatively he played Tristana in that lane, because Hylissang was leaving fairly often. He also played Ezreal in that best of, and I think that this is actually more to Fnatic's preference to be able to unlock the support position.
Yeah, now you also get that situation where you pick your carry top, you have Ezreal bot lane, so you don't need to help the Ezreal. You can just play to Whippo's lane, and Fnatic are saying we're going to go top side. In this game, it's most likely a Swain top, but to be fair, at this point, it can be anything because both players can pick these champions.
Well, let's see what happens when we hit to phase 2, gentlemen. Scout has thrown down the gauntlet as we've expected. It is the LeBlanc into most likely the Irelia, and as we go towards phase 2, the bans will start to show us a little bit more light on which direction Ray's going to go.
Yeah, and I think they're going to start, actually they don't, I was going to say they'll start hitting aggressive junglers right now, because if you're Scout, you're happy you've got LeBlanc, one of the best skill matchup champions in the game. If you take out Lee Sin, Xin Zhao, all of a sudden what does Broxah go towards to try and influence that mid lane?
Well, there's still some aggressive picks like Camille left available in this draft here. A good pick against LeBlanc specifically to lock her down. But I really like what EDG did here for game 1, because I think the Rakan pick is so huge in this meta when it comes to forcing plays early to mid game. You're catching squishy people out before a fight even starts. And we know they want to play around mid and bot lane, so having gank set up with your support is key.
Now, what direction will Hylissang go? The 2 champions he's played here in the World's group stage, 4 games of Braum, 3 games of Rakan. With Braum banned away, Rakan locked in, and now the Lee Sin targeted towards Broxah as well as Nocturne. There's a couple of questions that need answering.
Alistar is left open in this draft, was not taken early by Fnatic. It is right there for him to grab with the Ezreal if he wants it. Otherwise, Tahm Kench can be a thing for him. Leona is the traditional pick against the Rakan. That is a skill matchup that typically also tells you you actually want to play to that lane. And I don't think Fnatic necessarily wants to do that with the Ezreal.
And I was expecting a more early game centric jungler to come out, Xin Zhao, to team up with something like that.
I want to see
Rakan
Xin Zhao here. Yeah, give me that Xin Zhao.
And you get it. That's exactly what is locked in. So this will just leave the last pick for Ray up in that top lane. Most likely a tank. We'll see what he decides to go with.
And in the situations like these, Broxah can actually decide to play something either like the Olaf, I was going to say Talia obviously banned away, but just try and get the farm advantage. Whilst we've seen so much early game skirmishing going in favor at World so far, if he is able to build a CS lead and start beating the Xin Zhao to objectives, they can force EDG into bad fights.
Well, right now we get one of the most contested support picks all tournament long, typically banned in first phase. Just got left open through the second ban phase and picked by Hylissang. EDG might have said, we are not sure if he wants to play it, so we will leave it open despite having already picked our support. Hylissang shows he will take it. And there is Elise. We were talking about this backstage. There is a chance we can get this jungle pick from Brox that he used to play Lee Sin and Elise only. That's how he got to Challenger before he even made it onto the pro scene.
And it is so crucial because we keep hyping up the fact that if he is able to influence the lanes, then this is a game where Fnatic will be able to steamroll early. They know that EDG like to go toe-to-toe.
Yes! Okay, so we get the first Elise of Worlds. We get cleared in the top lane as well. Spawn, what do you make of this draft? I just see brawling on both sides.
Absolutely, and Kled was the answer in the top lane to so many majors in the LPL. It was actually a huge pick throughout the year.
I wonder if we're going to see Fnatic swap the two solo laners right here. Give the Swain in the mid lane and then try and just camp the top side early with Irelia. We have to see what they decide to do. In the end, I think it's good matchups on the side of EDG, especially with LeBlanc in the mid lane.
Because the big thing about Kled is all of a sudden you can get multiple members involved in the action if you build yourself a small lead. If you're able to ult aggressively forward in the lane gangs on things like Jin Zhao, so much more impactful than you would otherwise think.
They go with the safe one, leave the Swain top here. Still, Elise jungle coming in for the first time. It is a pick that got nerfed. It got basically killed in professional play for so long, but a couple of buffs have happened, and a meta now where early ganking junglers have really looked great. Brings the Elise back for Broxah specifically. You still need to be careful. If Jin Zhao jumps you, you're going to go down very, very quickly, but your early ganks are still insane.
What I feel like is both of these teams have got a composition that when ahead, it can snowball out of control really, really quickly. There's a lot of tools and a lot of pick power, and
kind of just want to get to an area first and then be able to force fight. So interested to see if a team does generate an early gold lead, how the opponents react.
oh man, ladies and gentlemen, the last quarterfinal at Worlds 2018. The winner will face down Cloud9, and it is Fnatic versus Edward Gaming. These two organizations have a lot of history, a lot of pedigree, a lot of wins in their past. And today, the favorites are Fnatic. If you are a Fnatic fan, you should be terrified because every favorite has fallen.
And EDG went into 2015 Worlds off winning MSI, upsetting Faker's SK Telecom. They came in to that quarterfinal as favorites. People were waiting for them to turn the tournament on its head. Death teleported to a ward on Jake,
yes, I
and
remember.
the sky fell down. Today, they have an opportunity to exact revenge.
Listen to that crowd. A lot of Fnatic chants coming from Bexco in Busan. And we just have a fairly defensive start on the side of Fnatic, a little bit of shenanigans on the side of EDG. They've grouped up in that pixel brush in the river. Might find themselves a Hylissang as the observers have toggled the vision. This is what Fnatic see currently. A bear trap on a rope. Will catch onto Burpo. It's a small advantage for Kled and Skarl as he continues to run him down just a little.
A nice little trade from Ray early on. Gets a little pullback again. Meanwhile, around the red buff.
All right, Pulverize comes down from Hylissang and engaged from Haru. The knock-up will catch onto Hilly. He's got flash available. Flashes over the pit. Here comes Haru. First blood picked up by Scout. And all of a sudden, EDG on the ball.
And Scout gets first blood. That is huge for the EDG lineup. We've already talked about the isolated 1v1. He didn't even need to burn a summoner.
They also get the red buff now. Top lane, they keep trading. Ray will almost get his mount back. Still, I love what EDG is doing here. I love the draft for game one with so many ways to constantly force plays in the early game because Fnatic, they're greedy in the early game. They take big chances when how they play laning phases. They want to be aggressive. They want to look for fights. And EDG with these tools, they can answer every single time, and that's important.
And now being able to continually visit that bottom lane, no summoner spells available on Hylissang. Massive advantage right now in the jungle for Haro.
I think right there, Broxah was expecting Haro to actually walk into his jungle. Here we get the level 1. We were watching the fight top lane. 2v3 at first. Hilly does get a knock-up, but he's taking a bunch of damage in return.
And you can see as soon as Caps uses the AoE stun to try and keep Scout out, there was a big go sign that came out of EDG. They said they no longer have one of their best level 1 tools. Let's continue that fight.
And now you know EDG are going to push in this bot lane. It's an Ezreal Alistar. It's a very defensive lane from Fnatic. It is very much a, hey, we don't need to worry too much. about this lane dying, but they will go down in CS. Their turret will take damage, and that's going to be a bit of an issue.
Well, we'll see how well Fnatic play around this solo lane. If they can get Whippo and Caps into a comfortable position. Whippo, after taking a lot of negative trades early on, has shoved this wave heavily into Ray's waiting hands. And of course, when you are playing with Elise against you, the risk of dives is ever great.
That's what I was going to say. They lost sight of Broxah as big trade in the bottom lane.
Take a look at this. Hylissang down to 200. Just as Mako and iBoy are pushing this wave on a turret, they're just trying to reduce CS for Reckless.
And look what they're doing. They're invading again. They're tracking Broxah. Elise is all about the early game.
All right, good flash from Broxah. Gets away with his life. Mako doesn't commit anything more. Edward Gaming have come out swinging and have put Fnatic on the defensive.
Exactly, and they're stopping Broxah from getting off any early ganks. That is super, super important. Haro is just checking everything. There's one ward in the jungle as well, but more importantly for them, they know the camps on bot side are dead, so Elise will most likely go to top side.
A big trade here on the top lane. It just feels like every time champions meet, there's the threat of someone going down, but Spawn, for the time being, Whippo seems to have won that trade.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's going to continue to win the trades because Ray came back without a refillable potion. And he's going up against Corrupting Pot as well as Dark Seal. Now, Broxah also coming through the lane. We mentioned Elise's potent early game could look for his first gank.
Yeah, but also, EDG knows the camps on bot side are dead, so they should communicate, hey, Ray, there's a chance he's top, and that's why he put this ward in the brush, knowing Elise could try and sneak her way in there. So right now, EDG should have enough information to guess where Broxah could be.
Oh, I'm holding my breath. Cocoon is one of my favorite spell names in the game to yell. And I'm waiting for Broxah to fire it out. He's in human form for now.
Pushing towards Whippo, so he needs to make sure that Ray has to overextend. There we go, now only 3 casters left.
There is a lot of minions that need to get cleared out here if the fight were to break out as tension continues to build top. Hylissang will find himself a small stunner to Mako. Tower helping out Reckless as the Mystic shots are continuing to be fired.
Ooh.
While that's going on, Reckless is turned around. He's forced to run for his life. He's sitting on Flash Teleport, not heal, so he cannot extend the trade.
Yeah, and they just force him out of lane. Now going to have to teleport back. I like the fact in the top lane that Whippo actually threw out his E. They were trying to bait Ray in, saying we don't have CC left available. There's no spider up here in this brush. You can see already teleport being used bottom lane.
Here we go, another invade. The game plan is clear. Scout is not in the mid lane yet, so it's a bit risky from Haro if he does find Broxah.
And
He's
that's
fighting him.
exactly what you're talking about, Deficio. If Haro jumps onto Broxah, there could be trouble, but a point-blank Cocoon helps out Broxah. Haro decides to turn around. Here comes Cap, the flawless duet, waiting for the stun. Will miss! Haro gets away for now. Finds himself in the blast code, jumps into Whippo's hands. Whippo slays Haro. There all of a sudden, Scarl is running for his life, but another great Cocoon. Broxah keeps himself alive for a few seconds longer, jumps back into Spider form, and is taken down by Scouts.
It's a 1-for-1 right here, but there are some basic rules in League of Legends, and one of them is do not invade the enemy jungle if your own mid laner is not there. He did anyway. He walked in, he died. Caps now. Oh!
Now remember, Caps flashed over the wall. He needs to get this stun. A flash over from iBoy. iBoy picks up the 3rd kill for EDG.
And that's a massive play out of Ivo because he left bottom lane with his teleport. He got nothing for that in the top side after winning that trade against Reckless, now able to return with a kill.
So, mid lane, bad for Caps. He's now died. Scout is still in the lane. He's actually going top now with Haro. Meanwhile, on top lane, Ray got chunked low again from that little fight, and Whippo got double buff with that kill. He's pushing in the lane.
And this is why people are loving this world. As we take another look, this is just an aggressive invade. But once again, no scout in the mid lane means that Caps is able to be there so quickly. Burns the summoner spell, he just wants in on the play.
Yeah, and then I think actually the stun does not connect. Haro does manage to get away for at least a little bit. He will die the Whippo, but that's when you get the return. The TP comes in from iBoy to join the fight. He's not going back to the bottom lane, and Ray knows he will survive as long as he takes down the Elise. Another fight.
Yeah, as soon as we come out of the replay, Caps is being jumped on. This is a 3 versus 1. Hylissang has arrived, but can he turn it around? That flash headbutt was simply not good enough. Haro escapes with his life. Roxanne Hilly late to the party. Ladies and gentlemen, Edward Gaming have 1,000 gold lead at 7.5 minutes.
And I just feel like we're going to get pulled out of a lot of replays early because there is so much action happening around Summoner's Rift at the moment, and League of Legends right now just seems to be early lane advantage into skirmish, skirmish, skirmish. EDG showing that they are one of the best skirmishing teams.
And this is why we said we love this draft from EDG and this planned game 1. you combine the Xin Zhao and the LeBlanc together. It's all about mid-jungle. It's all about shutting down Caps. They've done that twice now. He's down in CS, he's down in kills. 3-0 Scout on the other side.
Because you look at pre-tournament expectations for EDG, and it's all about they have great individual skill, but after 20 minutes, the map deteriorates, it falls apart. How do they set up their Barons? It's just not good enough on the world stage. Well, so far we've seen that really all you have to be able to do is team fight to take Barons at Worlds, and EDG also able to show that even against some of the best players in the EU LCS, they're able to continue to build these individual leads.
Oh man, they play against some of the best players individually in the world in LPL all the time, so they're not going to be too scared of the names on the other side. Reckless will try and steal the Drake here. Oh, actually we're trying to get a kill.
Very, very low. This actually might help out. Smite will keep Haro alive. Caps, no flash, and decided not to take that blast cone. While that's going on, gentlemen, Ray will get jumped in here by Whippo and Broxer, but there will be no further follow-up, and this is good, just zoning. 63 CS to 48 in the top lane.
Yeah, now Hara can go bot lane because Broxer showed himself top. This Elise pick has not been successful yet. He's not been able to execute any ganks. Meanwhile, bot lane, as we just highlighted, Hara can move down. They can secure this turret. Scout is here too. Fnatic are going to fall very far behind.
And crucially, Hylissang has spent majority of this game without a summoner spell. So they can't even go for a risky defend. They have teleport available on their top laner. Maybe if Alistar had some playmaking abilities, they would be able to sit there, but they don't. So in the end, EDG win the race for the first turret, and Ray even gets to defend top side.
Yeah, and now remember, with the Rakan on the side of EDG, they always have the option to force a fight. With the goal lead, there's no point in slowing down. If you're EDG, look for that pick.
And the popularity of Kai'Sa was due to how good for a crit 80 carry she is at this stage of the game. With the W, with Rakan, such a boost to the attack speed steroid, she doesn't go through the same trough as someone like a Jinx, someone like a Tristana goes through, and still scales into late game relevance. So
what about a full mana Israel?
Not what I would ideally have in a mid game.
So what you're trying to say is there's a power trough right now for Reckless's Israel.
You gotta wait for the tier.
He's lost the tower, waiting for tier to be fully stacked, down 10 CS. But look at the CS discrepancies between top and mid. Obviously, Whippo is very far ahead, while Caps is still trying to find his way back into the game.
Why does he have a third tier, Martin?
He wants an Iceborne Gauntlet. Okay. Eventually, he will get there. Takes a bit of time.
Let's see whether or not Fnatic will get that time. You know, if Edward Gaming can accelerate, they've got a 2,000 gold lead already. They've got skirmishes, and they've got a lot of opportunity to maintain control in this game, because I really like the proactive play I've seen from Edward Gaming to open up this quarterfinal.
They also just have the tools, you know, things like the Kled ultimate, the flash engage off Rakan is so much greater than what you currently have with Hylissang. No summoner spell available, and the Elise without even first jungle item, let alone something like Boots 2 to be able to run into these fights.
Yeah, Elise is not a team fighter. She never really exceeded in team fights, and will definitely not be the case here either. If you can find picks, however, she is going to be great. You get a little root onto Mako, a tiny bit of damage. Now Fnatic needs to be careful, because this is where the engage is insane.
All right, Mako tries to turn this one around as iBoy throws out the feathers and recalls them. Whippo is just blown up by Scout, who is on a rampage. Now Caps is in trouble. He's being run down by Haro as the Vanguard's edge does absolutely nothing.
We tried to warn them. Scout is not done. Well, he jumps back for now. We'll get the Rift Health. We just said it. Fnatic, there's too much engage on the ENG side for you to just step into that river. They're going to jump you.
And their setup just was not good enough. They were all coming over the wall. They had to funnel through choke points, and they underestimated how aggressive members on EDG would be.
I saw this exact game yesterday in IG versus KT, game 1. IG also had the Rakan pick on their side. They walked to a Rift with an advantage. KT moved in to try and stop them, just like Fnatic did here. And instantly, Rakan pulls the trigger. Bunch of kills over for EDG. They have a massive lead in this game. And the only player on Fnatic's side with a lead is the Swain.
And it's just this choke point. And you see Rookie over the wall in one moment is going to just burn everything to get him. Flash, double distort onto Whippo, who is so much of the team fight carry potential right now. You can see after that it's just full-blown retreat. And to just highlight the aggression, Scout still wants more. He gets the additional summoner spell, just eking out every advantage.
Such a fantastic start for Edward Gaming. And like we said just before Picks and Bans, Mako and Haro, these are the two that team up, that are the initiation tools, the forward-stepping players for Edward Gaming, and they are working exceptionally well together.
It's just a perfect start to the game here. All the way back from draft into how they've actually executed, especially around Scout's LeBlanc. He picked up that first blood on the invade. He's been able to get multiple kills around mid against Caps, who's 0-3 now, trying to get a wit's end on Irelia, but he is so far down in this game. Broxa and the rest of Fnatic trying to see if they can create a pick here.
I'll keep my eyes on it. Itemization-wise, is starting to come in. Storm Razors and Ludens for iBoy and Scout. That Iceborne Gauntlet has been completed for Reckless and Caps. He's still working towards that wit's end. It'll be a little while before he's got power. If there is some solace for Fnatic fans, think back to the group stage where Fnatic and specifically Caps fell behind early in several games, but in the mid-game they were able to find the opportunities back into the match, and that's what we need to see if Fnatic can do.
At the same time, if you're EDG, you have an assassin that is 4-0-1 with 7 stacks on a Dark Seal versus a 0 MR team apart from the Aurelia, who does not have flash and cannot side lane against you at the moment. So backs against the wall on the map right now.
Yeah, and I also gotta say, I don't feel like Fnatic have that many tools to get back in the game. Like, they have an early game only jungler, they have an AD carry who now wants to just try and get to 2 items, get a fully stacked tier, but even at that point is not going to be that much stronger than iBoy on the other side. And then already on 3 items, iBoy is way stronger on the Xayah. To me, EDG have all the tools to just continue snowballing, and it's really only up to them and their potential mistakes if Fnatic are going to get back in the game.
And historically, this is a team that has made mid-game look difficult if they're not playing with a lead. However, mid-game with a lead is very easy. You push 3 lanes, you collapse on objective. So EDG right now potentially looking for Reckless.
I mean, we're either waiting for Scout to pop over the wall and one-shot someone, or for Mako to flash engage and kill someone.
All right, flash over the wall, or rather distort over the wall. Scout continues to look for Reckless. The chains will find him. Mako will set it up, and iBoy will bring it home.
Without summoner spells, you're just juking yourself to death at that point. What can Reckless do?
Absolutely nothing right here. EDG, full control. Will even keep the top lane turret alive?
Barely.
Tiamat, no! Lost it.
We'll
He tried.
lose the tower, but I don't think it matters. It's a 6,000 gold lead in favor of Edward Gaming. And I'm not really a superstitious person, but this whole first seeds falling nonsense is definitely becoming more believable when you see how well EDG are playing in the first game.
And also this play-in stage thing that's coming through all of a sudden.
Oh.
G-Rex unfortunately missed out on that buff, but everyone else from the play-in stage has shown up in this quarterfinals.
I think it's impressive to see how Edward Gaming have improved over the course of the World Championship. Some of their first games in the group stage against Mad Team, for example, they had a 20-minute Baron dance, for goodness sake. I don't expect that to be true today, but let's see how they play the mid-game, because as you've already said, Spawn, EDG have shown weakness in that stage of their play.
They certainly have, but I want to just continue the conversation on play-ins to now, because I think that EDG have actually shown that international scrims, extended period, can actually help you improve holes in your game plan. And the same holes from regular season where they're in play-ins, you know, they started to creep in groups when they played their first game versus KT, but then when they started, actually they pop over the wall, that's dangerous.
Not going to be in trouble just yet. Fnatic were hiding in the bush, trying to set up some sort of, pick opportunity. Wasn't going to work out as the Rift Herald.
It's walked from base all the way down to charge the turret.
It has been ushered in. It gets the charge and the boot for the bottom inner turret. Whippo is pushed away by Scout. Scout with the Ludens is really doing a lot of work as Whippo's going to try to wave clear. Here comes Scout again. Whippo forced to run for his life. This is a 5-on-5 in the bottom lane.
Remember now to go in.
Caps gets caught up. He's able to flash for now. There's a lot of damage in return. This is the only chance for Fnatic, but it's already a kill onto Cap. Whippo goes golden up in the top lane. They are routed and running for their lives. Yes, there's almost one back with the Demonic Ascension, but it's simply too little and it's simply too late.
And Fnatic get the fight with the turret still up and everyone charging past, but it is still a wash for EDG. They rinse Fnatic and now they look to continue their pushes.
EDG, they have so much damage on their side, and their front line, while it's not the big tanks, it's actually some champions that are hard to burn down fast. Sin Xiao ulti means you can't just burst him. And then, of course, Ray, who's sitting on his mount, constantly dancing in and out of the fight. So Fnatic, they don't have the damage right now to actually stop EDG.
And Whippo took so much poke at the start of this, so you can see EDG wants to go. He's sitting at a quarter health. He feels like he has to go in. He only has one soul shard, but a big ultimate from Caps nearly was enough to turn this around.
In the end, however, EDG, iBoy is still full HP. Scout did take a bit of damage towards the end, but he felt safe for most of the fight. And that was the key thing. It doesn't matter if you kill Haro. If iBoy's right behind him with 100% HP, just shooting away with 2 items, EDG wins the fight.
18 minutes into the game, EDG extend that gold lead to around 8,000. 4-0-5 for Scouts LeBlanc. 3-0-4 for iBoy Zaya. And think back to the level 1, think back to Scout picking up first blood, starting the snowball, and sitting on 10 stacks on his Soul Stealer.
Yeah, exactly right. Goes back, buys himself a book, says this game is going pretty good. I would like to record it in the history. And when you're 4-0-5, you got a 60 CS lead over someone like Caps. You do have the confidence to be able to go for builds like this.
Yeah, exactly, because Fnatic, they gambled a bit with the Elise right here, and it took Irelia with the Elise together. Could be a great combo if you do manage to succeed with the ganks, but Haro and EDG had that plan of invading early game, tracking Broxah down and make sure he couldn't go to lanes. Worked very well for them despite that one death he had early on. Let's see what happens now with the Siege, iBoy, and the rest of EDG, 4 members topside, and Ray's bot lane.
They do pull away from that because they want to allow Ray to split push, maybe have some time to go back. 3 items kind of is where Zaya comes online, but I don't think it was actually a bad draft from Fnatic. I actually like the idea they had. This follows the tournament meta in terms of where you need to be aggressive. It was just that EDG had the read on how to play out that early game.
Exactly, they knew how to stop the top side. We said it in draft, Fnatic's bot lane was leave them alone. It's Ezreal, we don't need to do anything there. And then, ooh, Elise, gank mid, gank top, it's gonna work. And that's what EDG shut down so well, which was very, very effective on their side. Let's see what happens around the turret.
All right, Mako very easily escaped this time around. Caps is only sitting on the wit's end for now, and the Flawless Duet did not find a target, while Reckless is poked away by that Sigil of Malice. EDG, 6 towers to 1 as we crest 20 minutes. That means Baron is alive, and that means EDG can stop baiting.
And I really hope Hylissang took unflinching, or whatever that mastery is where you get more tenacity for no summoner spells, because I have not seen this guy with flash the whole game.
That's the plan.
Every single time I'm like, he can look for a pole flash, he can look to maybe chuck someone back under turret and get them blown up. It just has not been there.
Maybe he doesn't want to have it for team fights, knowing that if he does go in with Flash, he will just die because his team has no damage behind him. It's like, if it's always on cooldown, guys, I can't engage.
That's the next level zone now. Let's see whether this works or not. Whippo's just going to get blown up here. iBoy's on a rampage, 4-0-4. Mako as well as Scout there for the assist. Now, Whippo does have teleport and 30-second death timer, so maybe he can join some sort of play, but it is looking so dire for Fnatic.
Yeah, and the 3rd Infernal Drake is coming available, so they don't even have to go towards it. They've just rolled the dice, come up absolutely massive.
And they have 4 players who actually really like Infernal Drake.
And this starts to become demoralizing. You have to talk about best of 5. This is going to be hopefully a very long, drawn-out series. And getting crushed in game takes a lot of mental resilience to be able to recover from.
Yeah, especially because you spent the last couple of days really preparing your first blue side draft and probably your first red side draft, but Fnatic knew they had first seed. Blue side is what they're picking. Here's the entire plan going into the game. It was first pick Irelia, saying we know if we first pick this, we can swap it between 2 lanes and we can try and carry with the champ as we saw in groups. However, EDG's answer was Zaya Rakan, and the Sivir ban meant that Reckless went for the Ezreal and didn't have any pressure bot side. And this Zaya Rakan combination has been huge for EDG.
And I also think if you step back just from the preparation for the series alone, Deficio, watching every other #1 seed fall, watching KT Rolster, then RNG, Falter, regional representation, then the #1 group stage from Afrika, they faltered as well. You have to factor in the weight and the pressure that is on Fnatic's shoulders after what is an obliterating defeat soon to be in game 1.
Because Fnatic has it on both sides. All of a sudden, they are the tournament favorite. They were the Western hope, actually, picked maybe here.
Let's take a look. Scout can escape with his life for now. Remember, not enough damage. Deficio said it a bunch already. The Scout will escape with his life.
I mean, they can definitely kill the LeBlanc if they have enough time. Ideally in a fight, however, for Scout, he does not get CC'd like right here. In the end, EDG, Triple Infernal, they have everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But Fnatic came into this game now as world's favorite, arguably. They have seen teams that they had beaten in the EU LCS succeed, have a great run. Now all of a sudden there is the double pressure onto them, as well as EDG just saying, we're playing with nothing to lose.
Well, there's two big questions I have now. Number one, how do EDG play the next 5 to 10 minutes? I want to see their mid-game. I want to see some growth in their Baron decision-making. For now, Ray is jumping onto Bwipo, and the fight will enter in the moment.
I think at this point, you don't even need the big Baron dance. You can actually just look for an engage with Mako's flash. Because you have so many ways to follow up then if Ray's with the team or just Haru flashing in as well. Scout can go over walls. Like, it's good you have Baron vision, but the moment you see someone from Fnatic nearby, just jump them. Get that kill. Maybe you get 2. Then you can take a Baron and finish the game.
At the same time, I think that they also can just wait. Infinity Edge plus Death Cap are going to be the next 2 items for their carries with Triple Infernal Drake. Why would you risk a play at 23 minutes when it becomes so much easier to execute, you know, at the 26, 27-minute mark?
Yeah, let's see what decision they go for. Double need to see Large Rod sitting with Scout. DF sword for iBoy. A couple of minutes before they complete that, as you've mentioned. And of course for Fnatic, big questions. How do they bounce back? What's their mental fortitude and resilience? For anybody that watched the summer final, Fnatic got smashed by Schalke in game 1. Sub Soaz back in, and then they proceeded to dominate the final. So this
Here
is
we go.
unknown, and this is exactly the engage that Fisher was talking about. Caps is already out of the fight. Yes, he gets to throw down the ultimate, but I don't think there's enough damage follow-up. A flash engage from Hilly. He sets it up. Only Mako is down. Now Ray is sitting in the back end. He's looking for Reckless. Will find him with violent tendencies. Drops down into the pocket pistol, and Skarl is charging up. Scout now starts to push away Broxa as he's blown up, and Scout is unstoppable. 5-0-8. Bwipo's the last to fall. Fnatic are ace.
And once again, EDG, they know, get the fight. You are so much stronger right now. You're going to win it. Fnatic tried their best to fight back, but it's just not enough. That's always the greatest thing when you're this far ahead. It feels like every call you make is the correct one because you can always kill the enemy team.
And that time we saw there was a counterpunch, but the gold lead, the Infernal Drakes, everything that stacked up was just too much to overcome. It actually looked okay for Fnatic, but EDG just able to push through.
And now to make it even better, they can go back and get your items spawned. There might be a Death Cap coming. I think an IH. That's 24 stacks of Scout, Soul Stealer as well. All right, let's see his AP right now on the LeBlanc, as I'm just checking over here. He's on 759 AP.
Well, let's find out how we got that here in your Ace of Predator replay.
And I think that this is good because they do stop the initiation coming in. It is a tanky Alistar that is taking the brunt of this damage. He flashes forward, he gets the good re-engage, but gold in this game buys you items, it buys you stats, and unfortunately they just don't have enough of them.
Ray gets into the back line, takes down Reckless in no time, and while Whip on the Swain here, he is strong. He's the one member who's actually able to do something in the game. Oh, to find Ray.
Okay, this is a 3-on-1. Ray will most likely go down. It's a shutdown gold. Big bonus gold to Reckless, but it's too little and maybe too late. It's a 13,000 gold deficit, and the rest of EDG, they're trying to collapse. I'm watching Haru. Can he find
Look for
your
Scout's damage.
Charge. Scout can just insta-give people nearly 800
Here we go.
ability.
Oh!
Scout is godlike, 25 stacks, and that is disgusting damage.
And just the wizard of the LPL. Now you see him, now you don't. Unfortunately, erases him, and he's still looking for more. EDG looking so confident in game 1.
The inhibitor's going to fall just before 27 minutes with Ezreal, played by Reckless, not in the fight. EDG are not done yet. They're looking for the Nexus. Scout, he's going to zone away Broxa. He dashes forward to the W, gets the sigil down. Now Hylissang tries for an engage, but there's simply not enough follow-up. iBoy gets the first of the Nexus defense, and now all of a sudden Ray turns his attention to Bwipo. Bwipo's got that demonic ascension, but he gets popped quicker than a hot air balloon. And there's Haru dashing forward with a charge. Bwipo goes down, the Nexus is the focus, and Edward Gaming strike first.
An absolute shellacking for the LPL lineup. Really digging in there. They just enter the base and they refuse to leave.
I mean, that's how you start a game 1 in a best of 5 when every second seed has already beaten the first seeds. It's a mental game. You're straight in Fnatic's head.
unbelievable performance. Edward Gaming have all the favors of the tournament looking towards them. Of the quarterfinalist teams that made it from play-ins, Edward Gaming's one of them. Of the second seeds that advanced, Edward Gaming's one of them. And we need to see how Fnatic respond because the pressure's on them.
Yeah, and I think whilst the pressure is on Fnatic, I think they had the right ideas. They mis-executed very early, so we'll see with Soaz potentially in game number 2 whether that mental reset
There will be a lot of
comes
mixed
out.
opinions about it.
We'll have to explore it. Early game went in favor of EDG and exactly how they won the rest of the game. Let's send it over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you. Quick shot. EDG watched G2 do it. They watched Cloud9 do it. And they said, okay, my fellow third seeds, my fellow regional third seeds, we can do it too.
We are
Ooh,
gathered
baby, they
here
hard
today
smash
to
Fnatic.
celebrate
How's that
the
diary
life
coming along
and-
over
Oh,
there?
I'm just writing my eulogy. Don't
Oh,
mind
it's
me.
just one game, Betty. Let's talk about it, though.
What a great game from EDG, though. They smashed Fnatic. Like, that early game dominance was absolutely fantastic. And when you kind of think about how the LPL, what they're known for, and their ability to just find these early leads through early domination, through really strong drafting, I was really impressed with what EDG did.
Yeah, and it's to understand, it feels like Edward Gaming recognized exactly what had made Fnatic really strong, and a part of that was Broxa. You know, on a heavy ganking jungler like Elise, immediately out of the gate, it's a level 1 invade from Edward Gaming. And then from there, Haro doesn't need to sit in camp lanes like an MLXG or like a Ning. He just needs to track Broxa, because Edward Gaming have this belief that iBoy and Scout, their solo laners, are just better than yours in the 1v1. He wants to isolate those lanes. Now, it did break down into some skirmishes, but the idea and the blueprint is there from EDG, and I expect to see it throughout the series.
Yeah, and I think early in this game, Fnatic was playing with an absurd amount of confidence, and I think their draft also displayed an absurd amount of confidence. The first pick, Aurelia, saying, we're just going to swap this into whatever lane is going to be most effective in and beat you. They see an invade coming. When they're not even grouped with their mid laner, Hilly steps up with Alistair. Even the Elise pick, because it was one of Brox's old picks from solo queue. If they would have won with this draft, I think Fnatic could have been unstoppable, but I think they need to fall back a little bit onto the things that made them more successful in the group stage.
And the fact that EDG were able to get their solo laners so far ahead as well, it just kind of, it mitigated the Elise pressure. It allowed Scout to go unkillable in the mid lane. iBoy down in the bot lane was able to secure the first tower extremely early on. And, you know, we talked a lot about how we felt that the mid-jungle duo was stronger for Fnatic. What we saw here was Haro removing the mid-jungle pressure and just saying, no, it's jungle v jungle, and this is my jungle today.
Yeah, but true to both of these teams' identity, their willingness to fight in this game was quite evident. And while EDG had a massive gold lead, we did see at times the potential for Fnatic in team fights, that if they weren't down 13K gold at this moment, maybe they can make something happen.
And don't forget about those 3 Infernal Drakes. I think the idea of having a frontline Swain with an Alistair engage against what was the EDG comp of everyone being able to go forward and kind of flank assassinate, you can see what they had in mind, but EDG had just won so much of the previous execution that these fights ended up actually being super one-sided, even if it looked like Fnatic had a good engage.
I mean, the core of the composition, some of the early picks that Fnatic put together were the Swain and the Aurelia, and ultimately they do have really good anti-dive in terms of team fights. It's very hard to push into them. They clean up really well, but I think the issues are when you look at the other pieces, the Elise, maybe even the Ezreal. So I'm actually really curious to see how the Sivir ban and the Ezreal pick, because if you're going to pinch one place on Fnatic, Reckless's champion pool is one of those places. He hasn't really gone for the Kai'Sa or the Xayah to the same degree as he will a Tristana, and Ezreal, and a Sivir, and maybe Edward Gaming have figured that out and think that it can bite them.
Some curious stuff happening in Champion Select. MasterCard player of the game going to Scout this time around, though, in the mid lane. Again, we talked about the mid-jungle synergy and importance. Well, in this case, as you mentioned, Vedius, we did have the removal of that pressure, but it doesn't mean that the pieces themselves individually didn't perform well. Ooh.
That was the 25 Magi's Death Cap Triple Infernal. It's impressive how you get to that point on the blog to then be able to do that at the very end. Scout, I mean, when we warned about like upset potential, Scout was at the forefront of that argument for EDG if they were to win this series, and that's a great game 1 for him to have.
All right, now I want to go back into draft discussion in reference to game 2.
Yeah.
What I've already loved about this series is it perfectly illustrates to me that every team has their own priority list. Every best of 5 will have its own meta, and it will adapt throughout the day. So if you are in Fnatic's shoes, how do you move from game 1 to game 2 in terms of those priorities? You said they looked pretty confident. Do you think they pull back a little bit and do something more tempered?
I do think they go a little bit more meta, especially with the jungle picks. I'm super curious to know if Soaz is coming in. And
no
also what the side
substitutions,
selection
EDG
is.
stays red. So same sides, no substitutions.
I
All
think,
right.
Interesting.
do you want to?
No, go for it.
I think one of the massive adaptations to do is in the bot lane. So if we have this idea that the blueprint for Edward Gaming is shut down Broxa, make him a non-factor, I think the blueprint for Fnatic should be shut down iBoy and Mako, make him a non-factor. And so they actually need something that's competitive in that bottom lane, that they don't just get shoved in or feel that they have a stronger 3v3. So if it's duo, bot, and jungler, that they can win. Because you can punish iBoy and Mako's aggressive tendencies in lane.
For me, I'm after a strong mid-jungle duo from Fnatic. I feel like that on paper, Aurelia and Elise should be strong enough to be able to handle LeBlanc and Xin Zhao, but they didn't show enough respect to the level 1 potential from EDG. So I want to see another strong mid-jungle from the side of Fnatic, and I just want them to better set themselves up to get to a point where they can leverage the power of that 2v2.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about EDG. I think they should keep drafting for the laning phase counterpicks as much as possible, right? So the LeBlanc was spectacular. They're going to dare Fnatic to blind pick stuff, I think, because it sounds like iBoy's going to be confident in the 2v2. The fact that Whippo is in, to me, signals that Fnatic is not going for an aggressive bottom lane. If they were, I feel like they'd put in Soaz.
So they could give more attention
so they
and
can
resources.
play around the bottom side. So I think EDG should just do whatever they can to replicate what they just did in game 1 for draft.
Yeah, knocked Lee and Xin Zhao were essentially taken off the board before Brox's pick. Do you think they made a misstep in showing that and going for that as opposed to something more middle ground like the Gragas?
I mean, I just feel that the level 1 determined a lot just because of how the fact that both mid and bot were able to gain pressure. It made it much easier for Haru to then dictate the pace of the jungle. And I think that if we see a different level 1 where Elise starts elsewhere, or if they deny the steal from happening and that Alistair doesn't die, then this game could have been very different. But because of the early jungle control that Haru was able to get, is a large reason as to why EDG took this game away.
It was an explosive game 1, and EDG start the series on the front foot. We'll see how Fnatic fight back when we come back for game 2. Don't touch that browser.